the first time that we're speaking publicly about this.
I'm a little nervous, to be honest.
Does your mother know?
Don't know.
My mother knows.
Well, before we turned the camera on, I looked at Marley, I was like, you ready to lose some followers?
And sometimes you just need to talk about things that you really believe in. When you are given that opportunity, it shows you how much you really believe in it.
Yeah.
We have changed our lives so much by tapping into psychedelic therapy. We use it in a therapeutic setting. The set and setting is so important.
Yeah, we're not telling people to go out and just start doing this in their basement. All right?
We're also not telling anyone to do it.
Yeah, we're not even telling them to go do it.
We're just going to share our experience.
Share experiences with it. Like, honestly, a lot of people have asked, like, Steve, why are you so calm now?
Lots has changed.
A lot of people have asked that. And it's because I've just done a lot of self-work and healing, and that's involved tons of therapy, tons. A lot of coaches and coaching, but then also a wing of it. A wing. Not that we're saying that something like ayahuasca is the answer, but a tool in the toolkit has been psychedelic therapy.
This is also a little bit part of how we came together as a couple. Is we both had individual experiences that were traumatic and painful. We both went through divorces around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, you referred me to the EMDR therapist that I saw here in Boise. EMDR is a great type of therapy, and if you have never done any kind of therapy, I definitely recommend starting with that. And psychedelics isn't something that you should just jump into, and a good psychedelic healer, facilitator, shaman, whichever kind of person that you see would likely turn you away if you didn't have a way to integrate what you're working on in any kind of psychedelic therapy.
So what happened was I was going to therapy, which I strongly believe in, PTSD from all kinds of stuff. Anyone can have PTSD, but I certainly had a lot of venues in life. I'm not here to dive into all that stuff for our personal issues for sure, but there was...
Another video.
Yeah, another video. But basically, I went to EMDR therapy every week, just about every week for about a year. And EMDR is where they kind of buzz you, and it's alternating buzzing that quite literally by the science rebuilds neurons in your head around traumatic experiences. And so you have memory of the experience, but the charge is gone. And the reason why we do this is because it's the equivalent of, like, imagine you have a bunch of Chrome tabs open in your computer.
Great description.
You know? And even if you're not in those Chrome tabs, you still have RAM on your computer that is being taken up to maintain them. This is like closing all the tabs. I just feel so much peace. It's ridiculous. So I started doing EMDR therapy to try to fix a lot of stuff that I had gone through. And it took us a whole year just to get through, like, a certain portion of my life. And I'm not here to say, like, oh, things in my childhood are terrible. I have amazing parents, incredible family. We both have amazing families. That's not the point. You just living, you get trauma. I was working on it. And after about a year in, the guy, he's amazing. He's incredible. He's here local, obviously. And he kind of started trying to fire me. Like, you're done, you're good.
I graduated too.
Yeah, you graduated. Yeah. You've been graduated. And internally, I was like, I know I am not graduated. There is so much more going on in there. Oh my gosh, I got to go fix myself. What is going on? Like, why do I feel these ways? And I knew I didn't have that internal peace, you know? And things would pop up in my life, and I was reactionary versus responsive. Right? And that's one of the ways I kind of knew there was more in there and that I had to work through. One thing to be careful of, and I'll just note here at the beginning, is it is possible to get addicted to trying to heal. You know what I mean? Where you heal too, and you're like, oh, I'm just going to go do this again. And you're like, you do get to a healthy spot after, you know.
Healing is part of the path, but it's not the path.
Right.
Heal and move on from that. Yeah. Awaken, celebrate. Make sure that you don't get stuck in thinking you're always trying to fix something. Like, healing is important, but also celebrate life.
Yeah.
Move forward.
So I started running the end of the rope of the EMDR route. Read a fantastic book about from the guy who invented EMDR therapy called The Body Keeps the Score. Such a good book. That book was life-changing for me and teaches the science behind trauma and why it works and how it works and why it sticks with you and how to get around and fix it, and you know, so you don't loop on it. And as I started running the end of the rope of the EMDR place, I had some influencers and mentors tell me, Stephen, you should go look at psychedelic therapy. And I was like,
wait, wasn't
no.
that the first one?
No, actually, no.
Oh.
I mean, you went and did it first,
yeah.
But I had someone tell me, like,
I didn't know this.
You need to go do this type of therapy. And I was like, I love my brain. I have no interest in drugs. I'm not going to go do that stuff. How is getting high going to go help me work on my crap? I was the biggest disbeliever in this. I was wildly and ferociously, almost like, absolutely not. There's no way I would ever even consider doing something like that. And he was like, all right, just maybe learn and some research. And I was like in a spot where I was desperate for any answer and feeling very alone. And so I started looking into it. And that's about when you and I started talking about it. And yeah, do you want to pick up from there? We got into something else after that. So buckle up.
I was coming off of my divorce, which was messy and threatening and messy, awful.
Another video.
Another video.
Well, that one coming, maybe not, probably not.
And I was also coming out of my first relationship after my divorce, where I saw this as like almost like redemption. Like this man was so different than my ex-husband, and I had just high hopes and expectations for this relationship. And when it didn't work out, I was just devastated. And I didn't realize this at the time. I learned this from the therapy that I then pursued after that. This man was really emotionally unavailable. And I was really internalizing his emotional unavailability as a reflection of my self-worth. To me, though, I just felt I'm unlovable, something is wrong with me, I'm not worthy, and I looped on that every single day. I went to our mutual therapist 3 times a week, crying over the same things, and I couldn't get out of it. And I lived with a friend who just so generously took me in for like 6 months. She had no expiration date on just how long she gave me a safe space to live at her home and heal in her home. It was the most difficult, but also one of the best summers of my life because of just the space that I had to discover myself again. But I was in this loop of what's wrong with me? Why am I not lovable? Why am I not worthy? What do I have to do to prove myself? And a friend of mine, friend of ours, confided in him, sharing just how miserable I was. Like I was near suicidal. I would dread going to bed every day because I didn't want to wake up and have to live another day feeling like this. And he said, hey, why don't you come fly out here? I have a friend who's a nurse, and she facilitates MDMA therapy. And it's like 5 years of therapy in a day.
It's amazing.
I've never done anything like this before. Even I'm from Canada. In Canada, marijuana is legal, but like I didn't even do that. Like I've never done drugs before in my life. And I was terrified, but I was also desperate and just I couldn't live like that anymore. I was at a breaking point, and I was just desperate for something to change.
MDMA, just so you know, is like street name ecstasy. This is the medical grade of it, though.
But yeah, chemically, what it does
medical grade, yeah,
is it like dumps your serotonin and reduces your amygdala, so it's all love and just this purest ecstasy of love, and reduces the fear and the ego. So you can see everything from such a different perspective. In this therapy that I got on the next, not the next flight, I got the next available appointment because I just wanted a release. I needed change. I needed help desperately. And it was like 5 years of therapy in a day. It was almost like I saw a timeline of my life. And it's different for everyone. Stephen's experience, which he'll tell you about, was so different than mine and not predictable. It's not like, okay, I'll just do this again and it'll be just like last time. Every experience is different. I felt like I got to see a timeline of my life and the experiences and the patterns that made me who I was today. And I was also able to see what in me attracted the relationships where I was fighting for my self-worth or to gain approval from someone, and then why that created the pattern of the next relationships that were eventually trying to teach me this lesson. And I don't know if I would have gotten that lesson that quickly without this kind of therapy. And I remember coming back to Boise, and I saw you shortly after. You said that you noticed the difference in me immediately.
Immediately. We understand this is a tender topic, all right, but from a therapeutic sense, these are very powerful tools that have helped move Marley and I through a lot of individual junk. A lot of us have a hard time letting go of the past, and it's why these work so well. Psychedelics are a disassociative, meaning they let you objectively look at the crap that's happened so you can learn how to re-relate with it so that when you come back to, it's not this thing that's just like stuck in your programming where you constantly are spinning on it. And so when you came back from MDMA therapy, we both only had done this once, all right? And this was 2 years ago. When we came back from it, or when Marley came back from it, it's almost like the internal barometer I could just tell on her. The pressure internally was just, it's gone. Mm-hmm. Gone, or at least wildly lessened. And yeah, so I wanted to go do it myself. And 2 weeks later, I did. I mean, I got it as soon as I could after that. I was so scared. I had never, you know what I mean? Like, I love my head. I researched the heck out of this thing. You think about it, it drops all the serotonin in one shot, which is you feel just love and peace,
Bliss.
but then destroys, turns off your fear center. And so for like, it lasts about 6 hours. And so they blindfold you, or that's what they do with us.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
They give you, because when you can shut off some of your senses, you can go deeper
Super
internal.
deep.
For me, I'm a very verbal processor. So after some time, I took off my blindfold and I actually just talked to the nurse.
I kept the blindfold on, earmuffs, and so they try to, so that way you go internal. What happens with trauma is your brain basically will build a barrier so you don't remember the thing as much. That way it doesn't hold the Chrome tab open, if you will. And so when you are in the state, your brain starts to go, what's behind that door again? Let's lift the manhole we built to make sure that we are okay. Your brain's doing this. And so you get to open it up and let open Pandora's box in a totally loving, safe environment and work through your garbage. Atone it, resolve it, and then when you come back, it's like, you function so much easier. The same things that happen, it's easier to respond versus react. Yeah.
And since then, we explored other
Others.
Psychedelic therapies
Yeah.
that have completely changed our lives, and it's an incredible tool. Again, we don't use it recreationally. We want to use it with a lot of care and consideration behind it. Like, I really respect this tool, and it's a very spiritual experience.
It was extremely spiritual. In fact, it was the first question that I had when I felt it hit. I was like, God, are you here? And I just felt immediately like, yep, you're cool, fist bump. You know what I mean? Like, it's all right, you're working through your stuff, you're not here to... I went into that MDMA experience needing to change my fuel source. I knew that I built most of my company out of pain. The previous 4 years, I had used the company as my escape from life. And a lot of entrepreneurs do that. I mean, you're watching this, you probably can relate, or at least there's something you use to escape from what's happening in life. And so for me, the company was that. And I went and I built this business because in so much pain, so much stuff, and I didn't know how to get it out. It was pending all the time. So I used it as a fuel. Rage and anger internally, even if not like raw expressed, is still an internal fuel to build stuff. Some of the artists and singers that we all know of, say Taylor Swift, gets a new boyfriend, it goes terrible, she makes another album, right? That's kind of, and there's so many artists that do that, and they use pain and chips on the shoulder as their fuel source for creation. And I knew that and had become cognizant over it because I'd done so much EMDR therapy. I was like, crap, I gotta change what drives me to create, because it's an exhausting fuel type. And it's one that takes a toll on your body and mind over time that is very expensive, and to build out of that. And so I went with the intention to try to change fuel source. And so I, in that session, asked, like, what's my fuel? How can I change? I just need to know how to get from pain to purpose. What's my purpose? And I was told exactly what my purpose is. It worked. It took me about 6 months to really install it, because rage and anger are good addictive things to build from, so I had to learn how to let go of it. But it still taught me what to shift. So I learned how to create from much more like a loving, exciting, how can we bless everyone fuel, rather than, escaping, which is not a great way to build an empire.
Always giving from an overflowing cup.
Right.
And that's also something that you said is really important to know, like having space to integrate, having other resources to help with integration. Like, you're not supposed to do psychedelics frequently. I mean, I'm trying to think of like the closest we might have done together. Like, we did an ayahuasca ceremony 2 months ago, and we're going to do another one
in 2 weeks.
In a couple of weeks. So
that's the closest probably
ever.
This isn't like we're not walking around every weekend, just, you know what I mean? Like, there's this perception that Hollywood gives with it too that is so not correct. So anyway, we came back from that. We both were blown away at it, and I don't believe it takes the place of traditional styles of therapy, and I don't think it takes the place of other forms of work. MDMA, ayahuasca, those are not the answer. They really are the thing that show you what to work on next, rather than you're healed.
Yeah, I
you know
can
what I
mean? if we don't have the right attitude or mindset about it, psychedelics could be easily used for like bypassing, like you think you're doing the work by having these experiences, but it's the work outside of the ceremony. Like, life is the ceremony.
There we go. There we go.
That you have to keep working on what you're being shown to work on next. And again, just to repeat what I said earlier, is to not get stuck in feeling like you always need to heal or fix. It's heal, awaken, celebrate.
And like the same breath, it's letting go of stuff, truly. while also helping you see what questions you should be asking. It's not the answer. And that was one of my big fears too. I was like, well, this can't just be like, oh, you go take this pill and everything's happy and you're good and it's not like that.
And it's amazing that we've now formed like a community of people who are using these kinds of medicines to heal as well, and being able to have like group integrations and see what other people are working on. It's like being able to observe what other people are healing in. It's almost like third-party healing or what do you call that?
Ventriloquist healing.
Ventriloquist healing. Secondhand healing, too.
Secondhand
All
healing.
these words that we're coming up with. To see what they're working on that maybe I don't have an emotional attachment to, but helps give me insight into how I can have compassion for other people going through that, too. It's been really incredibly eye-opening to build a community here and even share some of our experiences with friends who are going through difficult things and just don't have the right resources or want to learn about some of these resources available. Because if I didn't go for that first MDMA session, if I hadn't been introduced to other things like psilocybin, ayahuasca, I don't know, I just think it like rocket launched my healing, and there are things that I held on to for so long and things that I also didn't know that I was holding on to, like the emotional baggage that just seems normal for us, but then once you finally put it down and know what that feels like, you don't want to go back.
You're like, why was I holding that?
Yeah.
I didn't know I was holding that.
But it serves you to a point, right? Like you saying that the business that you grew and that you built it from a place of pain, it served you to a point.
For sure.
But now you get to a point where you get to change your fuel source and create from a place of passion and purpose and service. It's so eye-opening, and of course there's so many other resources to be able to find, and this is one that we've enjoyed and has worked for us. And I don't know if we're always going to do it. We kind of just...
Tool in the toolkit.
Yeah, see if we're called
When you
to it
need
or
that.
not.
It has been very powerful for me to learn meditation prior to doing any of these things. My first real experience wasn't with any psychedelic. It was just actually in meditation. Getting deeply into meditation and learning how to work through your own stuff, these are really powerful tools and skill sets when used together help move things through. So we came back from that MDMA and then started getting more into that, a little more psilocybin stuff. And then after that, ayahuasca opportunity came up. Big fan of Tucker Max. Yeah, Tucker Max, you're a beast if you ever watch this. We read your stuff. He's got this great article talking all about this stuff, about the lotus flower, and if you're getting into this stuff, that the ground is very much MDMA. It is also shown, it's actually in phase 3 clinical trials right now by the FDA. MDMA is for removing PTSD and trauma. It's one of the fastest things that does it for anyone. This isn't like some far-fetched thing. This is very researched, heavily researched by a lot of people and firms and companies. Tim Ferriss.
Huge advocate.
Huge
He's
advocate.
invested over a million. I don't know how many millions, but
yeah.
And yeah, the stories of veterans with decades of PTSD from the war in one session are sleeping at night, healed insomnia, gotten rid of anxiety. It is an incredibly life-changing tool, and of course there's so many other medications that are available to people, but this is
medicine, like real stuff. And it's not, again, like this thing that you take and it's like, oh, everything's better. It is work. It is work, and
Right.
you have to do a lot of integration with it. But ayahuasca was like kind of like that. I always saw it as, also due to Tucker's, article, as kind of a Super Bowl Mount Everest experience in this realm area. Did ayahuasca for the first time about 6 weeks ago, something like that, 2 months ago. And it was so impactful
I've been trying to get him to come along with me.
Yeah,
for it.
I was
And-
really nervous.
and
It's just,
if you're not called to
you're not
it,
called
like
to it,
you
don't
have
do
to
it.
go when it feels right for you, just because your friends are doing it. Like I did it we did it, my 10th time was your 3rd time. So I'd done it a few times before, and just when you felt ready.
yeah, and so it's all about that. It's zero peer pressure at all. Don't do it if you're feeling that way, actually. In fact, I wouldn't even start with these. I would go learn how to meditate. I'd go get into EMDR therapy.
Yes.
I'd learn the body, body keeps the score.
Great book.
Just
Gabor
start-
Mate is also a really great reference.
Yep, Dr. Gabor
When the body
Mate.
says no.
Very, very big advocate on these as well, those things. This is larger than I think most people realize. More research, thought through. There's a ton of money behind figuring out how it actually helps people heal and why. I'm not huge into talk therapy. Did that a little bit, but this has been one of the more progressive, faster ways to just move things through, because no one wants to just hang with all these Chrome tabs open. Back to that analogy. Ayahuasca was deeply spiritual. Deeply spiritual. I guess it's the topic of this video. We haven't really talked about Aya yet. Was it deeply spiritual? There's a diet that you do before you go. Is 3 nights in a row.
Doesn't matter. It's
Doesn't matter.
different for everyone.
Different for everyone. There's there's places to go and there's research like crazy, before you go try anything like this. But it's been a huge healing thing for us. So, yeah. If there's any questions, put in the comments down below. Not sure how to end this.
We'd love to hear from you if you have any questions or maybe even requests of future videos you'd like us to make on this topic or anything around this topic. We'd love to share our experiences, so comment below. I'll also put in the description links to each other's YouTube channels so that you can subscribe to both of us. And thanks for watching. Please subscribe.
We've been a little bit nervous about this topic, but y'all have been asking why we're all both so calm now. It's part of it.
Thanks for watching.